Juan Mendez Scott's Mystery Magazine.
Chapter 11. I slipped into unconsciousness. I slipped my shoes back on, buttoned up my dress shirt, and smoothed down my skirt, making sure everything was in place. Then, with a calm efficiency, I reached into the back seat and grabbed my navy blue Michael Kors Saffiano leather satchel. My eyes flicked to Gary's lifeless form, his dead eyes still wide and unseeing, as I took out Camille's panties and placed them in his hand, arranging them just so, as if they were the last thing he had held. Next, I pulled out Camille's lipstick, a deep crimson shade that would stand out starkly against Gary's pale lips. I leaned over him, smearing the lipstick on his mouth, painting a macabre picture of passion turned fatal. The final touch was Camille's hair, strands carefully plucked from her comb and brush. I tucked them neatly down his pants, adding another layer of damning evidence for the police to find. The empty bottle of her blood pressure medicine I tossed carelessly at Gary's feet, a final clue that would lead the cops straight to the conclusion I wanted them to draw. Like any first-time murderer, I was meticulous in cleaning up the scene. I wiped down everything I had touched, even going so far as to wipe the inside of the car with Clorox, the sharp scent mixing with the damp, musty air inside the vehicle. The rain continued to pour down, masking any sound, any movement, as I worked. The park was deserted, no one to witness my careful staging, no one to suspect that anything was amiss. With one last look around to ensure I was alone, I stepped out of the car, letting the rain wash over me. I felt a sense of exhilaration, my heart pounding with the thrill of what I had done. I glanced back at the car, at the scene I had created, and a dark smile curled my lips. Not a soul would suspect me. Camille would take the fall, and I would walk away free, leaving the past behind me, washed away by the storm. I gathered up everything, my purse, the cooler, and all the evidence I'd so carefully planted, then jumped into the SUV. The rain was still pouring down in sheets, making it nearly impossible to see more than a few feet in front of me. I drove out of the park, unseen by anyone who might have been crazy enough to be out in that weather. If there were cameras around, they would have struggled to capture anything through the deluge, but even if they did, all they'd see was the loner SUV, indistinguishable from Camille's. I had thought of everything. Sure, Camille had told me she'd be in all day, glued to the Lifetime channel with a glass of wine, but who's to say she didn't slip out to meet my husband at the park? After all, Murray was either passed out drunk in his man cave, eyes glazed over from the endless stream of NBA playoffs, or maybe he was out on one of his own little flings. The thought made me smile as I sped into the garage, the automatic door closing behind me with a reassuring click. I rushed into the house, my adrenaline still spiking. The moment I stepped into the kitchen, I kicked off my shoes, the cold tile floor sending a shiver up my spine, and quickly peeled out of my damp clothes. My heart was racing as I bolted upstairs, feeling lighter with every step. When I reached my room, I didn't bother with the lights. I ran straight for the California king-size bed and leaped onto it, the soft mattress cushioning my fall as I landed with a triumphant shout. If there had been a trophy nearby, I would have held it high above my head like a victorious athlete. "I'm free! Yes, I'm actually free of him!" I shouted, the words echoing in the empty room, filling the space with a wild, intoxicating joy. I grabbed a fresh bottle of wine from the nightstand, the cork popping out with a satisfying sound. I took a long, deep sip, letting the alcohol wash over me, its warmth spreading through my chest, dulling the edges of my racing thoughts. The day was still young, and I had no idea when someone would stumble upon poor Gary's body, slumped in his car, his eyes still open in shock. But it didn't matter. I was free now, truly free, and that was all that mattered. The wine worked its magic quickly, the adrenaline wearing off as the alcohol took over. I kept drinking, each sip bringing me closer to oblivion, until finally I passed out drunk, sprawled across the bed, the bottle still clutched in my hand. The storm raged on outside, but inside I was at peace. finally rid of the man who had once been my husband. And as I slipped into unconsciousness, a smile lingered on my lips.
On the next episode of Juan Mendez Scott's Mystery Magazine, Chapter 12, Sizzling.